The path has been prepared. It has taken centuries, but the tool will be ready when we have need of it. They will call him their Messiah, but he will be ours.
We have observed the rise and fall of countless empires. It is a predictable cycle. Stagnation, collapse, a dark age, then rebirth. But twice in the recorded histories, we have seen empires on the brink attempt to subvert this cycle, to seize control of destiny itself. My network has analyzed similar cases, men seeking to control humanity's destiny. We have seen it in the proto-molecule obsession of Laconia's High Consul Duarte. We have seen it in the indoctrinated vision of the elusive man and his Cerberus zealots. But those were individuals grasping at powers they could not truly command. Hubris personified. Their plans were insufficient. Today, we analyze something far older, far more ambitious. Two competing philosophies for total control, born from galaxy-spanning empires at the peak of their power. One chose to trust in mathematics, a science called psychohistory, designed to predict the flow of civilizations as if they were currents in an ocean, rendering the individual irrelevant. The other chose to trust in biology, faith and flesh, a breeding program, millennia in the making, designed to forge a single man into a god, a Kwisatz Haderach, who would steer humanity down a terrifyingly narrow, golden path to survival. This is a comparative threat analysis. We will deconstruct both models of control. Is the future better managed by an all-knowing algorithm or an all-seeing Messiah? The question is not merely academic. The answer determines which is the more dangerous God. Because you must understand, neither of these systems offers humanity a choice. They are built on the same foundational premise, that humanity, left to its own devices, will inevitably destroy itself. Hari Seldon's mathematics proved that the fall of the Galactic Empire was not a risk, but an absolute certainty. The only variable he could influence was the length of the ensuing darkness. 30,000 years of barbarism, or 1,000. That was the only choice he offered. And Paul Atreides, his mind flooded with the spice, saw every possible future. He saw them branch and twist, and he saw every single one, save for a single narrow path, end in the total extinction of the human race. His choice was to walk that path, or to let everyone, everywhere, die. Do not be fooled. This is not a conflict between freedom and control. It is a conflict between two different architects of the same prison. Our task is to determine which cage is the more complete. Hari Seldon's great work was not a prophecy. It was a proof. He treated history as a data set, and humanity as a variable. His analogy was simple. You cannot predict the path of a single molecule of gas in a container. Its movement is random, chaotic, but you can, with absolute certainty, predict the behavior of the gas as a whole. That is psychohistory. It is the analysis of mob behavior. It does not care about your hopes, your dreams, or your choices. You, as an individual, are the random molecule. But the mob, the trillions of souls that make up the galactic empire, the mob is a mathematical function. Seldon's equations predicted the fall of a 12,000-year-old empire with the same certainty that a physicist predicts the decay of an isotope. But the science has two axioms, two critical flaws that are in fact features of its design. First, the population must remain unaware of the predictions. Knowledge of the future alters behavior, introducing too many variables and collapsing the certainty of the model. Second, and more importantly, it cannot account for the actions of a single, truly unpredictable individual. The molecule that behaves in a way no one could foresee. The outlier. This flaw will become important. To execute his plan from beyond the grave, Seldon needed an instrument. In the official histories, this was the time vault, a simple room that would play a holographic message at key moments. The truth is far more complex. Seldon did not leave behind a mere recording. He left behind himself. Before his death, he ingested a capsule of nanites. His coffin, ejected into space, was not a tomb, but a chrysalis. Powered by the energy of a star, those nanites deconstructed his body and his vessel, transforming them into something new, a four-dimensional object, a tesseract, that we know as the vault. It is not a message in a bottle. It is a hand, reaching out from the grave to steer the ship. The vault can manipulate molecules to create food and air. It projects a null field to protect itself, and inside it resides a digital copy of Hari Seldon's consciousness, uploaded from the very knife used to kill him. It is not a passive observer. It is an active, almost sentient agent of the plan. Seldon's mathematics predicted the empire would collapse under the weight of its own inertia, its ultimate stagnation. And nothing embodies that stagnation more perfectly than the enemy he was fighting, the genetic dynasty of Emperor Cleon. To ensure stability and end the bloody wars of succession, Cleon I made himself eternal, a trinity of clones, forever ruling as Brother Dawn, Brother Day, and Brother Dusk. Their creed, their entire philosophy is imperishable permanence. But in achieving this, they created the ultimate stagnation, an empire that could not change, could not adapt, could not evolve. It was a still pond, rotting from within. And the irony is, the plan for permanence was flawed from the start. Rebel agents centuries ago corrupted the source genome of Cleon I himself. Each new clone is a degraded copy, diverging further from the original. Their vaunted genetic purity is a lie. Their physical decay is a perfect microcosm for the Empire's systemic rot. A system designed to ignore the individual was suddenly confronted by individuals it could not ignore. Salvor Hardin, Warden of Terminus. An outlier. She was immune to the vault's null field, possessed strange visions, and had an intuition that defied logic. She was a genetic ghost, carrying the memories of her parents, Gail Dornick and Rach Foss, and Gail Dornick, the brilliant mathematician Seldon chose as his heir. She, too, is an outlier, possessing latent psychic abilities, a form of prescience that allows her to feel the future in a way Seldon's math can only calculate. Herein lies the plan's central paradox. It is a system created by one extraordinary individual, Hari Seldon, to build a future where history is no longer dictated by the whims of great men. Yet, this very system can only be protected, course-corrected, and saved by the actions of other extraordinary individuals. The plan to eliminate the great man theory of history is entirely dependent on a series of great women to rescue it from its own rigidity. It is a beautiful, self-defeating contradiction. And then, there is the Mule, a mutant, a warlord, a telepath of immense power, able to reach into the minds of his enemies and rewrite their emotions, turning hatred to loyalty, fear to adoration. He is not a statistical deviation. He is a tear in the fabric of reality. Against him, the mathematics of mob behavior are meaningless. How do you predict the actions of a crowd when one man can make them feel anything he wants? You can't. The Mule is the variable that breaks the entire equation.
It's worse than we thought. The sequence drift. It's not just the 14th or the 17th. It goes back generations. We compared the current day's genome to the source material from the origin. The deviation is significant. He is not Cleon. None of them have been for centuries. What is imperishable permanence if the source itself is corrupt? What have we been preserving?
While Seldon placed his faith in numbers, the Bene Gesserit sisterhood placed theirs in bloodlines. They play the long game. While emperors worried about quarterly spice production, the sisterhood planned in millennia. Their weapon was not ships or armies, but wombs. A selective breeding program on a galactic scale, spanning 10,000 years. Their goal? A human supercomputer. A male who could survive the ritual poisoning of the spice agony, a process fatal to any man who had attempted it. If he survived, he would unlock not just his female ancestral memories, like a reverend mother, but his male lineage as well. A being with perfect ancestral memory and the ability to see across space and time. They called him the Kwisatz Haderach. He was to be their messiah and their puppet. But Lady Jessica, in her love for Duke Leto, defied her orders. She bore him a son, not a daughter. She delivered the Kwisatz Haderach a generation early, and into the hands of their enemies. She broke their plan, and in doing so, perhaps, sealed the galaxy's fate. The Sisterhood's plan required a two-part activation sequence. The first was chemical, the spice, melange, an addictive, life-extending psychotropic drug found only on the desert planet Arrakis. In sufficient quantities, it awakens the mind, unlocking the genetic potential for prescience. It is the key that turns the lock. But an awakened mind without direction is useless. So the Sisterhood provided the direction. Through their Missionaria Protectiva, they became weavers of faith. For centuries, their agents seeded primitive worlds with prophecies, superstitions, and myths tailored to their needs. On Arrakis, they planted the legend of the Lisan al-Gaib, the voice from the outer world, a messiah born of a Bene Gesserit witch, who would come and lead the native Fremen to paradise. One unlocks the power, the other provides the belief. It is a perfect symbiosis of chemistry and faith, designed to turn an entire population into a ready-made weapon. When Paul Atreides drank the water of life, the concentrated spice essence, the bile of a drowned sandworm, his prescience became absolute. But he did not gain freedom. He was shackled to certainty. He saw the future, and the future was a cage. He saw every timeline branching out from his present moment. And in every single one, humanity was extinguished. Stagnation, self-destruction, external threats. It all led to the same silent, dead end. All but one. A single, narrow, horrific road to survival. A road paved with a galactic jihad in his name. A holy war, a crusade that would spread from Arrakis like a firestorm, consuming trillions of lives and burning the old Imperium to ash. This is the horror of the Golden Path. It is not a choice. It is a sentence. To save humanity, Paul must become the monster he sees in his nightmares. He must unleash the very fanaticism he once feared. While the Golden Path is the grand strategy, the Bene Gesserit's tactical weapon is the voice. Forget armies. The most potent weapon in the Imperium is a single, well-trained voice. It is not magic. It is a form of audio neurocontrol, a precise modulation of vocal tone, pitch, and timbre, specifically tuned to the neural patterns and psychological weaknesses of a target. It is a command that bypasses reason, bypasses consent, and forces obedience. It is the ultimate tool of direct control. But the Sisterhood's greatest miscalculation was in believing they could maintain control over their indirect weapon: faith. They engineered the Messiah, wrote the scripture, and prepared the congregation. But once the faith was ignited, it developed a life of its own. It became an irrational, self-perpetuating force that they could no longer guide. Paul Atreides does not lead his jihad. He is swept away by it. He is a prisoner of the very fanaticism his mother so carefully cultivated. The Bene Gesserit sought to create a scalpel, and instead they forged a supernova.
Kestrel report. Your transmission is unscheduled.
Broker, the Arrakis situation is escalating beyond any predictive model. The Muad'Dib contagion is exponential.
Define exponential.
We're seeing entire systems capitulate without a single Fremen warrior landing. Pilgrim fleets are forming spontaneously. Imperial garrisons are converting en masse. They aren't just conquering planets, they're converting them. The Bene Gesserit's original mythos was a spark. This is a stellar ignition.
The Sisterhood's models?
Obsolete. They designed a religion to control a planet. They've created one that's consuming a galaxy. He's not their Kwisatz Haderach anymore. He's a self-propagating mimetic virus. Control is a fiction. Kestrel out.
As I was saying, control is a fiction. Let's place these two philosophies side by side. A direct comparison of their mechanics of control. In the Foundation's model, the core philosophy is utilitarian determinism. The suffering of some is a calculated, acceptable cost to ensure the survival of the majority. The future is a solvable equation. For the Imperium, it is messianic determinism. The suffering of billions is a necessary price to walk the one true path. The future is a singular, terrible vision. This shapes the role of the individual. To psychohistory, the individual is an anomaly, statistical noise. Outliers like Salvor Hardin are a threat to the plan's integrity. In the Golden Path, one individual, the Kwisatz Haderach, is the entire plan. He is the sole instrument and arbiter of humanity's destiny. Their instruments of power reflect this. Seldon uses technology, the vault, a sentient nanite construct, an external tool of intervention. The Bene Gesserit use biology, the Kwisatz Haderach, a genetically engineered human god, an internal agent of change. One relies on jump drives and data, the other on spice and faith. Their vulnerabilities are mirrors of each other. The Seldon plan is fragile, easily broken by true novelty, the unpredictable individual, the singularity of the Mule. The Golden Path's weakness is a loss of control. The weaponized faith becomes an uncontrollable firestorm, and the Messiah exceeds the grasp of his creators. This reveals the fundamental difference. The Seldon plan is a tyranny of the environment. It is external. It manipulates events, economies, and political pressures around you, guiding the flow of the river without ever touching the water. You are free to make your own choices inside the crisis, but the outcome is statistically assured. The Golden Path is a tyranny of the soul. It is internal. It seeks to rewrite you from the inside out, through genetics, psychotropic drugs, and, most importantly, belief. A Fremen fanatic doesn't choose to follow Paul. Their entire worldview, their hope for paradise, dictates that it is the only path. One system makes your free will irrelevant. The other co-opts it and turns it into a weapon for its own cause. We arrive at the final assessment. Two paths to salvation. Two forms of tyranny. Which is the more dangerous god? The cold, indifferent god of data, or the passionate, demanding god of flesh and blood? The Seldon plan is a profound violation of agency. It treats trillions of thinking, feeling beings as a mindless herd to be guided. It is a system that sees you as an insignificant number, a rounding error in a galactic equation. It is the tyranny of the algorithm. The Golden Path is also a violation. It demands you kneel before a single, all-seeing man. It demands your faith, your life, your children, for a holy war to secure a future you will never see. It is the tyranny of the Messiah. Both systems cloak themselves in the language of salvation, but both are prisons, one made of numbers, the other of faith. Seldon promised a lifeboat of equations. Paul promised a furnace of prophecy. Yet history shows us the same truth. No prison holds forever. The plan shatters against the unpredictable. The Messiah is consumed by his own fire. Perhaps Asimov dreamed of certainty. But Herbert reminds us that certainty is the most dangerous illusion of all. Humanity cannot abolish chaos. It can only endure it, adapt to it, navigate it. That is not control. That is survival. The choice between a future dictated by data and one dictated by a deity is no choice at all. Both are lies. The only true path is the one no one can control. The file is now sealed. End transmission.